wanting to exploit their royal titles, I think it stinks. And I think what King Charles should do, he should just strip them of the titles. Let them go off and be, celebrities, that's fine. But don't do it in the name of our royal family.
Prince William is reportedly formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH titles.
To imprint her family's royal connections, the Sussex name, the title, onto the public before those titles get removed. And I would hasten to add,
King Charles just pulled off something wild. 17 standing ovations in the United States Congress. While that was happening, Meghan Markle was back in Montecito, quietly placing stories in People magazine, keeping her own narrative alive. And here's where it gets intense. Tom Bower claims Charles has already decided exactly when those titles will be stripped. And that moment is creeping closer than people think. Now, look at what Tom Bower actually said about this visit, because he doesn't toss around big praise for no reason. When he calls something phenomenal, it's not hype, it's calculated, and it means something serious. This is someone who has spent years digging deep into the royal family. He's followed Charles for decades, uncovering details most people never even hear about. He knows the history, the secrets, the power plays, all of it, both literally and figuratively.
There are growing calls to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which...
So when Bower says this visit was a massive success, he's pointing to something bigger. Charles walked into one of the most politically divided places in the world and still managed to get both sides standing, clapping, and showing respect. That's not normal. That's influence on a whole different level. 17 times. Let that number sink in for a second.
Prince William has finally snapped. Enough is enough. He has told friends he will strip Meghan Markle of the HRH title.
17 standing ovations in a Congress that struggles to agree on almost anything. And right at the center of it all, a 77-year-old man dealing with serious health challenges, someone whose doctors reportedly had to prepare him for weeks just to handle the trip, still walked in and completely commanded the room. Bower pointed out something that keeps sticking in my mind. He said the king carries a kind of mystique, a quiet mystery, and that mystery is exactly where the monarchy gets its real power from. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's there, shaping how people react. We almost never hear Charles speak openly about his true opinions, but Bower makes it clear there's a different story behind closed doors.
According to a source, here's the quote, Prince William plans to flex his muscles and wipe his wayward brother Prince Harry and his power-hungry wife Meghan from the history books, it said.
In private, inside that Oval Office, Charles delivered exactly what needed to be said. No paperwork, no drawn-out policy talk, just decades of experience, connections, and personal trust doing the heavy lifting. Then Bower draws a comparison that really hits hard. When the Prime Minister met Trump, there was that moment where he bent down to pick up papers from the floor. Just one moment, but it sent a message people didn't miss. It gave off an impression of imbalance, like one side held more control than the other. Now contrast that with Charles. Same building, different energy. Trump called him an unbelievable king and a great friend. That shift in tone says a lot. Presence, perception, and influence all playing out in real time.
The only thing HRH stands for in association with Meghan Markle is her ruthless homewreckerness.
Now here's the part Bower understands that a lot of people completely overlook. That moment wasn't just about diplomacy, it was a full-on display, a masterclass in what royal power looks like when it's used the right way. And over in Montecito, watching it all unfold, because there's no doubt they were tuned in the whole time, Harry and Meghan saw it clearly. They saw exactly what they stepped away from. So the big question people keep asking is this: why hasn't Charles taken the titles yet? Tom Bower has followed this king for over 30 years. And what he explains, especially in Power to Seek, is that Charles doesn't think in headlines or quick wins. He plays the long game, decades, not days. And once you spot the strategy, it's hard to ignore.
Still using her HRH title despite agreeing to drop the title when the Sussexes left royal duties. How is Will planning to deal with this?
Every time Meghan uses the Duchess title to get access, secure deals, promote something, or headline an event, it sends a message. Whether intentional or not, it shows a continued link to the very institution she publicly distanced herself from. That tension is hard to miss, and people are noticing it more each time. Now imagine if Charles suddenly stripped the titles in a dramatic move. It wouldn't just be a clean break, it would spark a massive reaction. Instantly, it could create a narrative where Harry and Meghan are seen as being publicly punished. Media outlets, especially in the US, would likely run with that angle, and the story would explode overnight. Every daytime TV show would run with that story non-stop for weeks. Second, it would make Charles look reactive, even emotional. And that's exactly what the monarchy avoids at all costs. Its strength comes from staying calm, controlled, and above the noise.
Markle has been very brazen recently with the use of the HRH. Now, royal fans will know in 2020, during the negotiations for Harry and Meghan to leave royal duties, it was agreed with Queen Elizabeth that they will not use the HRH title. That is a long-standing precedent, and there's good reason for it. Basically, the HRH is only given to work.
Bauer is very clear on this point. That sense of mystery only works when there's restraint. The second a public outburst happens, that image starts to crack. And third, this is the angle people barely talk about. Removing the titles while Harry and Meghan are still active in business could actually give them more room, not less. Right now, they're caught in a strange middle ground. They reference royalty, but also try to build a separate public identity. That tension limits how far they can go in either direction. They can't fully lean into celebrity life while still holding on to royal ties. At the same time, returning to royal duties doesn't seem realistic, given past conflicts. That push and pull creates a kind of standstill, a situation that keeps them boxed in.
So the fact that she's continued to use this HRH when they've been instructed not to, I think is absolutely infuriating in Buckingham Palace. And there was a very interesting source inside close to the Prince of Wales who spoke to the Daily Beat.
So why would Charles step in and change that? Bowers take points in one direction. Wait it out. There are signs their commercial momentum has slowed. Fewer major deals, shifting partnerships, and mixed results from recent projects. Public interest rises and falls, and the landscape keeps changing. From that perspective, holding steady instead of reacting quickly could be part of a longer strategy. Sometimes doing nothing isn't passive, it's calculated. The titles will likely be removed at some point. Bauer's view is that it's not a question of if, but when, and the timing matters more than anything. It won't come across as a sudden strike or a heated reaction. It will be framed as a calm, measured decision, something that feels like a natural ending rather than a personal attack. The idea is simple. Wait until the Sussex brand carries less weight commercially, until the titles don't add much leverage anymore. At that point, removing them doesn't look like a win or a loss. It just feels like the final piece falling into place. And according to reports often discussed around palace circles, that timing may be closer than many people expect. Now look at that People magazine article, because this is where things get interesting. From Bauer's perspective, timing tells you everything. Charles lands in Washington. Day 1 is all about high-level meetings, history, and optics. Day 2, he steps into Congress and gets 17 standing ovations, with global media coverage exploding everywhere.
William hates Harry. That's big. You know, William will not have Harry at the coronation. But Tash, what about Charlotte Griffith's language in terms of the relationship between Prince Harry and Prince William? Because you do have to admit, she has a lot of the inside track, and we now know why, from Prince Harry's friends about what is really going on between the two brothers.
Yeah.
And for her to just drop the word hate so casually.
Every major outlet is watching. Every headline is focused on the monarchy for positive reasons. Then suddenly, that same day, a People magazine article appears. It leans on unnamed sources and paints a very polished picture of Harry and Meghan. Happy, focused, united, completely unfazed by anything going on around them. So the question becomes obvious. Who gains from that article landing at that exact moment? The timing doesn't go unnoticed. And when you read the quotes, they all carry the same tone, almost like they're echoing one message.
Where I look at it as, and I have done for a long time, Prince William is done with him. He is done with him. I don't think there's any coming back. When you think about how Prince William has always been, he's always had a tight circle of friends, and it's always been a known thing with Prince William. If you betray him, you're out. That's it. It's done.
They're just trying to live their life. They wake up every day focused on being the best parents they can be. They are each other's biggest champions. The more adversity they face, the closer they come together. That narrative starts to feel very controlled, like one voice shaping the story from behind the scenes, presented through a magazine that has run dozens of positive Sussex features over the past few years. The number gets brought up a lot. Around 40 major pieces in a relatively short time. That kind of consistency raises eyebrows and keeps people talking. And it's not just about volume, it's the pattern. Repeated exclusives, familiar framing, similar tone each time. For critics, it doesn't read like independent coverage anymore, but something closer to ongoing image management playing out in public view. The timing is what really grabs attention. While Charles was dominating headlines in Washington, he made no public mention of Harry throughout the visit. Not in the Congress speech, not at the state dinner, not in official remarks. William, on the other hand, was referenced in a way that the audience clearly picked up on, and the reaction in the room showed it. That contrast didn't go unnoticed. One name acknowledged, the other completely absent. That kind of silence can speak louder than any statement. Then, right in the middle of all that momentum, the People article lands. It cuts through the news cycle at a very specific moment, shifting part of the conversation back toward Harry and Meghan. Whether intentional or not, the timing makes it feel strategic, like an attempt to reinsert their story into a global spotlight that had moved elsewhere. Even former royal press figures weighed in, with one warning: this move will deepen tensions and will not help Harry's case. That reaction alone shows how charged the situation has become, with every headline now carrying extra weight.
Prince William doubles down. According to multiple sources, it's now a matter of when, not if, he strips Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their royal title.
Some palace insiders even framed it as confirmation that the Sussexes are fully out, with no real path back to reconciliation. That's the narrative gaining traction in certain circles. But here's where Bauer's perspective cuts through everything, and it flips the whole situation on its head. He argues that the article actually suggests the opposite of what it's trying to project. Because think about it, people who are genuinely content don't usually feel the need to broadcast it. Confidence doesn't need constant announcements. And if someone is truly unbothered, they're not rushing to place carefully timed stories while major global events are unfolding elsewhere. From that angle, the piece doesn't come across as strength. It feels more like a signal that something isn't sitting right. This is where Bauer's decades of research into the royal world really start to matter, because he highlights something deeper, a difference in direction that's been there from the beginning. According to his analysis, Harry and Meghan haven't always been moving toward the same end goal, and over time, that gap has become harder to ignore. In Harry's case, Bauer points to a long pattern. He has repeatedly spoken about maintaining a connection to royal life. As he once said, "I will always be part of the royal family. I am here working, doing the things I was born to do." Moments like visits to memorials or international trips have often been interpreted as attempts to stay tied to that role and identity. There have also been reports of efforts to reconnect, attempts at meetings, gestures toward rebuilding ties. Though not all of them have worked out, the picture that emerges is of someone who still values that world deeply. The structure, the duty, the family ties, and the sense of belonging that comes with it.
Harry and Meghan, they're increasing ostracization by the royals. They're ostracized, aren't they? They're now no longer being called HRH.
Whether that can ever fully align with the life he has now is the question that continues to hang over everything. And it's one that doesn't have an easy answer. Meghan's direction, as Bauer frames it, moves in a completely different lane. The focus appears to be on building a strong, marketable public brand, with royal connections adding visibility and appeal. It's about blending status with celebrity, keeping the title in place while operating in a world driven by media, partnerships, and image. That kind of approach naturally brings attention. Magazine features, public appearances, brand positioning, all of it becoming part of a bigger strategy. People around her, including longtime industry figures, are often mentioned as playing a role in shaping how that image is presented and maintained. Put those two paths side by side, and the contrast becomes hard to ignore. One leans toward tradition, duty, and connection to an Almocet that values privacy. The other leans toward visibility, independence, and commercial growth. Those goals don't easily line up, and that tension has been noted by observers watching closely over time. Even during high-profile tours, like the Australia trip, coverage at the time pointed out moments where things didn't seem perfectly in sync. Publicly, everything looked polished and unified. Behind the scenes, though, there were reports suggesting a more complicated dynamic. Two people trying to balance very different priorities under constant attention. For Harry, that creates a difficult position. Returning fully to royal life would be complicated, given what has already been shared publicly and the strain that followed. At the same time, going all in on a purely commercial path may not fully match what he has expressed wanting in the past. That leaves him in a space that's neither fully one thing nor the other. Bauer sums it up in a direct way. Their purposes are not aligned, and no amount of People magazine coverage can align them. When push comes to shove, each of them will do what they individually need to do, and that moment of reckoning is coming. Then there's the business side of things. Partnerships have shifted, deals have started and ended, and the overall trajectory has changed over time. A Netflix agreement concluded after limited output, and a Spotify deal wrapped after a single podcast run. Developments that sparked plenty of headlines and speculation about what comes next. Archewell Foundation revenues have reportedly declined for 3 years in a row, and that trend hasn't gone unnoticed. Events tied to their brand have also faced challenges. Ticket prices for the Australia Women's Summit were reduced significantly, yet attendance still didn't reach full capacity. Even Harry's speaking engagements, once rumored to command very high fees, are now being discussed at noticeably lower rates according to various reports. In the entertainment world, perception can shift fast. Industry decision makers, executives, producers, agents tend to weigh risk just as much as opportunity. And when projects don't deliver or become complicated, enthusiasm can cool quickly. Deals that once made big headlines have either wrapped quietly or produced limited results, and that pattern has fueled ongoing debate about their long-term positioning. Bauer refers to this as a reputation challenge. Once a certain narrative takes hold in Hollywood, it can be difficult to shake. It influences conversations behind closed doors, shapes expectations before meetings even begin, and adds pressure to every new project that's announced.
Prince Harry has finally had his HRH title stripped from the royal family website. Buckingham Palace has ditched his title online 3 years after it was agreed that he would lose it following the Megxit deal.
Despite that, the response has been to stay visible. More appearances, more features, more coverage, more attempts to keep momentum alive. Because stepping back entirely carries its own risk. In a media-driven space, relevance often depends on constant presence. And once that fades, rebuilding it can be extremely difficult. It creates a sense of being stuck in motion. having to keep moving forward even when the pace keeps increasing. At the same time, other members of the royal family have been generating a very different kind of attention. A recent milestone anniversary photo of William and Catherine circulated widely, a relaxed, family-centered image that resonated across audiences. It showed a quieter kind of stability, a couple with their children, navigating public life while also maintaining a sense of normalcy despite years of intense scrutiny. That contrast between two very different public approaches is part of why the conversation around all of this continues to grow louder. The contrast Tom Bower has been talking about for years is now right out in the open for everyone to see. No long explanations needed, no debates required. Just look at the two images side by side. On one side, a king standing tall, commanding a room, earning 17 standing ovations. On the other, a carefully timed magazine article built on anonymous quotes insisting everything is perfect. That difference speaks for itself. Charles moves with intention and always has. Nothing about this is rushed. Nothing is accidental. Bower, after decades of studying this institution, keeps coming back to one clear idea. The monarchy survives because it plays the longest, smartest game in the room. And that's where this is all heading. The titles, they're not a question mark. They're a matter of timing. Charles will choose the moment, and when it happens, it will feel inevitable. Not emotional. Everything happening right now, the global success of the state visit, the shifts in commercial momentum, the media moves, it all feels like the final chapter unfolding exactly as planned. If you've made it this far, drop a comment with your thoughts. Hit like if this breakdown gave you a new perspective, and subscribe for more.